It's the halftime show version of our political insiders. Abdul stuck to his promise and did not bring his Janet Jackson costume to the festivities. Unfortunately, Abdul-Hakim Shabazz, conservative commentator, and our Prince, another fabulous halftime show on the Democratic side, insider Brian Gaddie. Gentlemen, good to have you once again. But instead of halftime of the session, we'll get to that in a second. Some big news from our Attorney General, Todd Rokita, this week. He went to Texas, took a trip to Texas, decided to have the taxpayers pay for it. The purpose of which, and I guess this is how he's getting away with the taxpayers paying for this trip, was to go to the southern border with Mexico and be part of a lawsuit that has been filed. I believe 6 other attorneys general are involved, all Republicans, aimed at the federal government and facilitation of illegal immigrants. We've seen a lot of these types of lawsuits, frankly, over the past little bit. Brian, we'll start with you. The Attorney General on the taxpayer's dime in Texas. What do you think?
Well, you should at least brought some Texas barbecue back with them. That's what I would say. But hey, it's just another sign of Todd Rokita being the grandstanding politician that he is. I just long for the days when Indiana Republicans used to have statesmen like Richard Lugar and Dan Coates. It just seems to be such a long time ago. Because Todd Rokita is just such a grandstander. He is always out here trying to push these culture war issues to divide Hoosiers, to get his name ID up, because we all know he's running for governor. I mean, it's just obvious. There's no reason why he should even be at the border at all. That's not an issue that, in my opinion, the Attorney General of the state of Indiana should even be at the Texas-Mexican border. So it's just part of his grand scheme to run for office, for governor, obviously to run for governor. And then he was also down there getting praise from the former president, twice impeached Donald Trump. Just he has to always, get his praise, of course, get his stamp of approval. So it's just another example of Todd Rokita being the grandstanding politician that he is.
Abdul, what gave it away that this might be related to his run for governor? Was it the lawsuit against illegal immigration, or was it the appearances with Donald Trump?
I think it was, to a certain degree, Ray, I think it was both, to be brutally honest with you. You got the Attorney General down at the border, involved in a lawsuit only 6 Attorney Generals have done. And it's a very narrowly tailored, defined lawsuits about giving benefits or like DACA status to the children of illegal immigrants from another country. So it's not like it's a big global immigrant issue. For me, the bigger issue is that it was taxpayer funded, and the fact that the Attorney General mixed politics in with his business. We can debate whether an Attorney General should be at the border, because that's technically a governmental related issue. But the Attorney General at the Donald Trump rally, taking his son, then stopped by Bill Clinton's boyhood home on the way in Arkansas. To me, that I had a little bit of a problem with, because if you're going to do that, then you should do it on your own dime, or at the very least disclose how much money the taxpayers paid. Did they pay for your gas because he drove down there because he didn't fly? So did they pay for your gas? Did they pay for your meals? Did they pay for your hotel? That, to me, that is a bigger issue here when it comes to mixing government business and politics.
But in this day and age, Abdul, does that matter? And will anything happen to the Attorney General as a result?
Does it matter? I think it does matter. Granted, the Attorney General will always appeal to the Donald Trump base. I think he's doing a great, wonderful job. However, we're still talking about taxpayer money and taxpayer dollars, and that for any government official, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, governor, secretary of state, when you start mixing political business and government business, that's where we got to draw the line.
Ryan, should Democrats make a big stink about this now, or when, assuming that the Attorney General runs for governor, should they wait until then and be sure to remind everyone that he used taxpayer money to take a trip to Texas, to the border, and to go to a Trump rally?
Absolutely should not wait. We should attack right now. We should make this an issue right now. We've got to remind Hoosiers, like my good friend Abdul talked about, this Todd Rokita wasted money, taxpayer money, for just going down to the Donald Trump rally. Like Abdul said, he was even at Hope, Arkansas, visiting President Clinton's boyhood home. What does that have to do with the business of the state of Indiana? What does that have to do with being the Attorney General of the state of Indiana? He was using Hoosier tax dollars for personal use. It's extremely unethical, and we should definitely, as Hoosier Democrats, make it an issue and keep on making it an issue, because he's going to run for governor. So we might as well start making an issue and just just hanging around him and just tie this issue to him and remind Hoosiers this is the kind of man who wants to be governor of our state. We got to make sure that it never happens.
Instead of looking ahead to 2024, let's look at 2022 now and the legislative session ongoing. We are at the halfway point officially this week. We've talked about all of these bills at some point on Insiders this year. So let's just do kind of a lightning round, if you will, maybe a slower lightning round, but just to recap some of these bills and just to get both of your opinions on their prospects in the second half. Let's start with the regulation of absentee voting, House Bill 1116. This would put new restrictions on absentee voting, including forcing Hoosiers to swear under penalty of perjury that they could not vote in person 28 days before an election. This kind of sailed through the House. Abdul, we'll start with you. Its prospects in the Senate.
I think its prospects in right now are 50-50. I think Senator Rod Bray told us on Friday they'll take a look at that bill, like a lot of the bills that the House has sent over. I go back and forth on this one because obviously if you're going to do a absentee ballot, it's because you can't make it to your polling place. My issue is with that bill particularly is what if you're in a place that I can see that bill being a place if you have a vote center. That's one thing, because you can vote a vote center, you can vote anywhere in the county. If you don't have a vote center in your county, that to me is going to be a bigger problem or a bigger issue. But at the end of the day, I think the bill will be tweaked, but I think it'll probably pass, but it'll be tweaked and amended somewhat.
Democrats being in the minority, Brian, what can they do about this bill?
It's really not anything we can do to stop it from becoming law if it passes the Senate. We just have to hope that Governor Holcomb, I don't know if he would have enough votes for him to veto it. I'm pretty sure at this point it's veto proof. My friend Abdul probably knows about that better than I do. But I don't think at this point we can do anything to stop it except go to the people and talk about it in the media just to show that, hey, our state already has some of the worst voter participation rates in the country. So we've got Republicans in the General Assembly that are making it even harder for Hoosiers to vote. We should be encouraging Hoosiers to vote, but yet they're trying to make it harder for Hoosiers to vote. So that's the message we need to take to the people.
I'm gonna respectfully disagree with my good friend Brian Gaddie there for just a quick second. Voter participation is not an issue. It's not an issue per se because Republicans have made it harder to vote. It's an issue because we don't have good quality candidates. That's what more like the issue is. Quality candidates will bring up voters time and time again. It is not the quote unquote voter suppression. Oh my God, you got to show an ID to vote. You got to show an ID to get just about anything and everything. So to say the Republicans are engaged in voter suppression, that I frankly disagree with. You have 30 days to vote between October and then election day in November. If you can't find 20 minutes to vote, particularly in places got a vote center, then probably voting is not on your list of priorities. Just to make that perfectly clear with my good friend.
How do you explain the fact that we rank near the bottom of the 50 states for voter participation? I mean, we can't have that many bad politicians running. It's just been a problem in our state for quite a while. We rank near the bottom in the states for voter participation, and the Republicans are making it harder for Hoosiers to vote, and there's no doubt about it. It plays a role. That definitely plays a role, my friend.
And if I may interject, it in some cases, Abdul, it does take a lot longer than 20 minutes to vote. Not all. It just depends on where you live, depends on where you vote.
And also, and I agree, but also depends on if we have a vote center or not. If you've got a vote center, then basically you've got 30 days and some change to vote anywhere in the county.
All right, let's move on to vaccine mandates. House Bill 1001. We only got so much time here. House Bill 1001. This would restrict businesses from enforcing COVID-19 vaccine mandates. And again, it's specifically aimed at the COVID-19 vaccine and frankly, a bunch of lies being told about it and its effectiveness and whether or not you need one. Brian, a lot of Senate skeptics of this bill, both Democrat and Republican. What do you think its prospects are?
Who knows with the General Assembly these days, but I'll say this, though, that the Indiana Republicans, they claim to be the party that's pro-business, but yet they want to interject in business decisions here with this vaccine mandate, stating to businesses, businesses cannot require their employees to be vaccinated, but yet they claim to be the party for business. As you've heard me state over and over again during our discussions here, that I believe the Indiana Republican Party, especially that small subset of the far right, are anti-business. They are not pro-business. And we as Democrats, we Hoosier Democrats need to make that message plain to Hoosiers that we are a party, we Democrats here in Indiana are for business, because we understand that you cannot tell businesses what to do. This, you talk about big government. My goodness, can you get any more big government than this? You've got politicians telling businesses what to do. I don't know. Somewhere Ronald Reagan's got to be shaking his head, just like, what's happened to my party? What's happened to my party? Because these guys are not conservatives. They are not acting like conservatives.
Well, and in the Senate, Abdul, it doesn't seem like there are as many people on board, perhaps, for this bill. It doesn't sound like the governor is still on board either.
You're absolutely right. Because in the Senate version of the legislation, they just basically passed three things that the governor needed to lift the emergency mandate. And they left out all the employer exemptions, religious immunity, and medical exemptions with respect to vaccine mandates. And I see that same thing happening over on the House side of things. Actually, I think at the end of the day, nothing in this area may get done at all, because the gap between where Democrats are, or sorry, where Republicans are in the House, Republicans are in the Senate, is just way too big right now. Now, granted, we still got 30 days and some change, because it's not necessarily where you start, as Speaker Houston says, it's where they finish. So there's ample time to work things out. But this isn't like a money issue where one chamber wants to spend $1 billion, the other chamber wants to spend 500 million. Okay, we'll split the difference at 750. This is either you want the vaccine mandate exemptions or you don't.
Next, let's talk about the bills that are generating a lot of talk, and we'll see whether it generates more protest moving forward. Three bills in particular dealing with what our friend Mr. Gaddie would call the culture wars. He's used that term a lot on Insiders this year. We'll first talk about House Bill 1041. That would be a ban on transgender girls playing sports at grades 12 and below in Indiana. This passed rather easily in the House, Abdul. Its prospects in the Senate, haven't heard much talk about it, but this seems like a bill that has enough momentum to where it could become law. I know we just saw a similar bill become law in South Dakota. I think that was the first one in the country.
I think it's got a good chance of becoming law. My question is it seems to be an issue that's in search of a problem, because the bill was amended in the House to exempt college athletes. And if a transgender athlete is going to be playing sports, odds are that's more than likely where it's going to be happening. But the NCAA has come with their own rules, basically saying it's up to the colleges, universities, and they had some criteria as to what defines a transgender athlete. Like I said, it seems to be like it's a solution looking for a problem that doesn't exist, because I'm still looking. I think I mentioned this last week when we got together for a case of a transgender athlete wanting to play high school sports here in the state of Indiana, and I haven't found that yet.
Yeah, the sponsor of the bill said there was one, and I haven't seen evidence of that yet, Brian. But at the same time, even if the law gets passed, almost assuredly it ends up in court.
Well, it's going to definitely be in litigation. And like we talked about last week, I think the courts will, if it does go to court, the courts are going to strike it down. And the far right will say, oh, well, we tried, but those rhino judges and those pesky liberal judges, they struck it down. So we tried, we made our best attempt. It's part of the culture war games that the far right plays. And it's just sad how they divide Hoosiers, and they come up with problems that don't exist. Solutions looking for problems. That's really the MO for the far right Republicans these days. And what's so sad is that moderate and pro-business Republicans are allowing this far right subset of their party to basically call the tune. That's really sad.
Another bill that might end up in that same area and might cause the same rift between the pro-business side and the more social conservative side, House Bill 1134, dealing with what teachers teach on a daily basis, making their lesson plans public. The future of that bill in the Senate, given that a similar bill in 167 already is dead. Brian, what do you think 1134 does in the Senate?
Like I said just a few seconds ago, who knows? We just, it's just trying to work out the different factions within the Republican Party, the far right, culture warriors versus the pro-business wing. But I do want to make this point. Our state is competing not just with Midwest states, but California, Texas, Florida, New York for tech jobs. We are trying to compete with these states. And we have to be able to have a business climate in this state that allows businesses to want to come to our state, as well as keeping the talent in our state. From my alma mater, Indiana University, I've got an IU sweatshirt on. Purdue, I'm talking about Purdue, I know. And Notre Dame, Butler. We've got some of the greatest universities in the country in this state. But we also have a very terrible brain drain. And all these far right Republicans are doing is making this situation worse. If you're a young graduate from Bloomington, West Lafayette, or South Bend, and you see this happening, why would you want to stay here? You'd want to go somewhere else you think is more hospitable, especially if you're an LGBTQ graduate from IU, Purdue, or Notre Dame, or Butler. So the problem is the far right Republicans are hurting our state. They're hurting our state when it comes to business. And the pro-business Republicans need to try to stop them, but for some reason they've allowed their party to be hijacked by these far right extremists. It's sad.
Bill 1134 was narrowed in the House before it did finally pass. Does that make it more passable in the Senate?
I think it makes it more passable. I don't think it's completely passable yet. So I think there's going to be a lot of amendments when it's all said and done, because there is something to be said about transparency and openness. And the one thing I will say that this whole debate over transgender athletes and CRT has done is made people realize, oh my God, there are these things called school boards, and maybe we should pay attention to what's going on in our school.